I think she should stay where she is. She's a risk to Britain, and that's the end of it.
Where exactly should she stay?
She should stay exactly where she is at the moment, in the camp.
In the
with
camp.
the Kurds or whatever.
We don't want her. We don't want her.
I don't want her because she's a security risk to this country.
She's a security risk to this country.
She's a security risk. No, she's a security risk. She's
I don't want her in my country. She's a
Content over everything!
threat to my country.
Well, then she
She's
should
a
go
threat
to
to everybody.
I didn't say she should go to
I know a way of resolving it, that you will be happy and you'll be happy. Put her into jail immediately.
No,
But in her country, she's not part of my country.
no.
Put her in
Prevention is
jail.
better than cure. Prevention is you don't bring her
That's
here.
what we need.
Prevention.
Dude,
just
come
like
in.
we
I don't know what I
prevent
think.
guys,
Hey,
come here,
dude,
come
I don't
here.
know what I think.
Why not?
No,
It's
it's
cool,
fine,
it's
it's
cool.
fine.
Oh no, you could talk.
I can talk now.
If you got a view, chuck it in, because I'm
Point
more...
of view is the following, right?
Sorry,
You're what?
sorry, can I ask you, sir? Sorry. So
You're from
what is
where?
your country you're talking about? Which one are you talking about?
The point of view is,
She's
this
Well, then
woman,
Syria
come in
now,
and
isn't
say.
she? Yeah, with the Kurds. Yeah,
This woman-
but she's with the
Put
Kurds.
a mask
isn't
on
she,
and
in
come
Syria?
in and say.
Are you Kurdish?
Seriously, I
No,
want
it's
to...
fine,
just
it's
trying to
fine,
work
it's fine.
out.
Just say what you want to
this
say.
woman, she grew up here.
Yeah.
She has a British citizenship
Yeah.
under British law.
Yeah,
right?
stay where she is.
I'm going to let him finish his
No,
views.
not your
You know,
trash.
they got a bit
Don't
of a
bring
point.
your-
They have a bit
She's
of
not
a
my
point.
trash.
No,
She's her own trash.
The terrorist trash
No,
that
no.
came from here because of, I don't know, marginalization.
No,
I don't know what
nothing to
came
do
first,
with
social
I mean,
inequality.
I understand
No,
why
no,
they
no,
don't
let him
want
finish.
why
No,
they don't
I'm
want
not
the
saying you
terrorists
should
in
have
that
her,
country.
but we're not going to
I
have her.
understand them.
We don't
Excuse
want
me.
her.
You don't want... So your argument is you don't care what happens to her as long as you don't have to deal with her. Is that your position?
But I think the right thing is that she returns back to her own country where she was, where this product came from. She's
Okay,
the product
let
I
me
think
say
the right
something
thing
to you.
is for her to go to prison.
Right, let me say something to
where?
you.
Where?
If this is
Shall
why I've
we
been
hear
asked
him?
about
Shall we hear
discussion.
him?
If she's in prison, it doesn't matter
Right.
if she's here or
I'm
there.
not going to sit on the fence, but I totally understand what you're saying as well. I get where you're arguing. Your
That's
argument
an
is
interesting.
not a
That's
bad
actually
argument. It's a
an
good
interesting,
argument.
opinion.
So I'm not going to
I
disrespect your
wasn't
argument. I
expecting this
totally
kind of
understand where you're coming from. Logically, it should be a British issue. You should bring it up. I get all that.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a completely different thing here. Prevention, to me, to the citizens of this country, is better than cure. She is, from a profiling basis, as far as I'm concerned, at the moment, whether you like it or not, a potential risk to this country.
I agree with that.
That doesn't mean she's going to automatically do something, and she may come back and reform herself forever. I may do. But the word potential risk, when I'm trying to use things called prevention is better than cure, my argument is that just as a profiler at an airport, this is what I said last week, will look at you in relation and dehumanise you, say to you, let me look at your shoes, where you're going, undo your jacket. You could be the most innocent man, which I'm sure you are, going. I don't know you. I've never met you before. You haven't met me before. You don't know me from Adam, do you? But you're going to ask me to take my belt off, aren't you? As if I might blow you up. You're going to ask me to take my shoes off, aren't you? I know I'm no risk to you. I'm no risk to anybody. I'm never going to blub anyone in my life, I'm sure of it, right? However, they dehumanise me at that point to decide whether they can then humanise me. Does that make sense? So you dehumanise someone in your head to work out if they really are human and they can go through and go on the plane.
What? Hang on.
Hang on.
Who's dehumanising who here? I'm not understanding what you're
You
saying.
dehumanise someone.
You
You
being-
just generally you put them into a general format. Right. I look at you.
You mean the girl?
Yes, the girl. Hang on a minute. No, I'm talking about everything. What I'm talking about is if
You
I'm.
mean depersonalised?
No. I want to get.
You don't
this
mean
point-
dehumanised.
I want to get. I do need it, and I'll tell you why.
Whoops.
Right. When we're talking about profiling of people,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about I don't accept you're a human. What I'm saying is, I look at Hamlet here, right? He comes up to me, looks a nice, decent guy, fairly intelligent, talking with a slight foreign accent. No racism here. Don't
Hey, it's
worry.
fine, it's fine.
It's fine because he does speak with a foreign accent. Right.
It's cool,
It's
bro.
fine. No issue. Right. So I come along and already I'm going, foreign accent. I don't know what's in this bag. Now this guy may have the kindest history on earth. But for that moment, I'm going, don't trust you just yet.
It's your instinct to protect yourself. I agree with
Look
that.
at your bag. Come on, take this off, take this off, take this off. And then after I'm profiling you for 10 minutes, I'm going, he's all right. Go through, enjoy the flight, have a nice thing. So that's how they do it. The reason that this is relevant to the point we're talking about Shamima Begum, or whatever her name is the same thing. The country is looking at this. She is not how can I put it, one person who's come for profiling. She's become an international news story. We know her history. She know where she's been. She know where she... I don't care if she was 15 when she went there. She took a hell of a lot of trouble to find a way to rack her and go through the blooming border.
She'd been
there.
6 months, would you care?
Hang on.
No, hang on, you're talking a lot. You just said if she was 15, you don't care. If she was 6 months old, would you... At what point
well, at
do
6
you
months,
care
she's
about
likely
that
to be
factor?
taken by her parents.
Okay.
That's a different
At
issue.
what age do you care about that?
I care about a 15-year-old girl who knew exactly what she was doing, and I'll tell you why she knew what she was doing. Hang on. She stole her sister's passport. She connived the whole thing. She knew what she was doing. If you're going to take...
Doesn't matter.
Hang on. If I'm going to take the trouble to steal my sister's passport, hang on. Go through London airports, fly to Istanbul, go across Turkey to the border of the Islamic State, enter through Raqqa, hang on a minute, through Gaziantep and the other town, whatever
it was premeditated. Got it.
That's premeditated. She knew exactly what she was doing. The reason I'm bringing it back to profiling, I'm being fair, is I'm looking at her story. And the British people, that's why there's a petition of nearly 1 million people in Britain are now saying they don't want her back. They put it to Parliament. 1 million people have now signed that petition saying we don't want her back. The reason they don't want her back is the British people are profiling her as a risk to this country. Now, the only reason we will know that the risk was worth taking is the day she dies as an old lady and never does anything to anyone.
Not true.
Hang on.
How long are we hanging on?
No.
Yeah.
Because she
this
could...
is a hell of a hang on.
He's actually right.
No, but this is the point.
It's your point, but there's 5 of
Okay,
us.
but I'm going to finish the
just
point.
right-
then you
yeah,
go.
just
Okay,
wrap
but
it
could you
up.
speed
Wrap
it
it
You
up.
up?
keep stopping. Yeah, but you keep stopping.
No,
me.
I
You're trying to
really
make
haven't
noise.
been
You
stopping.
keep stopping.
Okay,
me. I
okay,
can't
okay.
speak. You let me finish. I'll finish
okay,
it. Right.
finish.
Okay, thank you. Right. So the profiling has been done by the country. We know what this story is. So for me, I find her high risk because she's been with a radical group. She's been with a fundamentalist group. She's come back. She doesn't seem to have shown much signs of total apologies. So I'm putting the case for her. Can you come back? Is it better?
Let me just
Hang on.
finish.
Let me finish and I will listen to all of it. I'll shut up and I promise you. I will listen. Right. The point is you asked me the question. I'm answering the question. The question that needs answering is she high profile for this country? As far as I'm concerned, yes. Do I know she's going to do something? No, but the risk is too high for me when we know this is her story. Unfortunately, Shamima, you made the decision to do something in collaboration with your other friends. She wasn't 6 months old in her parents. She wasn't kidnapped. She went of her own accord. You're going to pay the price for this. The nation has to be safe from her. We know about you. And therefore, from a profiling point of view, the British are saying, we don't want you. So, therefore, I am not sitting on the fence. Stay where you are. If you're not in Britain, we're safer.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Got it. What?
Right. Is that fair?
That's your position. I hear your position. I think it's got
Well, no,
holes
it's my
in it.
position. So now put your position.
My position is I'm kind of undecided. Can I just synopsize and I'm going to stand back?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm not sure what my position is, which is a viable position. I'm weighing it up. But what I'm hearing is you think not on my back door for good, what you can think are good reasons. You're Syrian and you think not on my back door for what you think is good reasons. Does anybody here's concern for this girl go any deeper than just looking after their patch? Is anybody here debating that?
For the child she's pregnant with, I mean, the child didn't make a choice to have a filth mother.
Well, can we all agree that maybe the child should be allowed in? Is
No,
there anyone?
I don't agree with that.
You don't even agree. You agree with that. You agree with that. You agree with the child?
With the child should be allowed in.
Yeah, British
All right.
citizenship.
Let me explain you my point of view here.
Yeah.
I think the best course of action would be Britain to take her back here, to take responsibility for the shit they created, and immediately put her into prison. After she gives labor to the child, after she gives birth to the child should be taken away from her, never to be shown to her.
Why is
because
it the shit that we created?
Sorry?
It
She
may
created her own shit.
be
Because
the shit
because
we
the
totally
because
created.
the UK
No.
is allowing very extremist. Very big extremists to be created in their lands. There need to be big reforms in the UK to prevent this from happening. Because this is not a good way to go. These guys, I can understand them perfectly. Imagine this whole situation from their perspective. Their country is ruined by ISIS. Fair enough. That some people from ISIS are from ISIS.
Can I modify
Other
your plan?
people.
In law, we are.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Can I suggest that rather than putting her in prison,
you mean... I'll tell you why I don't want to hear.
Rather than putting her in
Maybe
prison...
not immediately, because she gives birth.
I'm only pitching one thing and I'm shutting up again.
I understand that you wouldn't want her, but you have to know that she is the liability of the UK.
Dude, when you say the shit that we created, I think she created her own shit, and her father created her own shit.
Can we do the shit and thing in a minute? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about the language, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, the shit thing's fine. Wouldn't you agree that rather than putting her in prison, she should be put on trial before she's put in prison? You didn't mention trial. You were just going to.
Okay, I didn't mention it because I thought it was too
a
natural.
foregone conclusion that she would be found guilty.
Yeah,
she should have a trial.
Yeah, because she was openly cooperating with
If you're letting her
ISIS.
in as a British citizen,
I mean,
British
yeah, it's
citizens
like
get a trial
me
and then
right
back.
now pulling out a gun and shooting somebody in plain sight of the camera.
Okay,
Obviously,
so just
I'm going to prison. But yeah. But look, why am I saying that the British created this? I don't mean that the British people created it, but the British government is allowing this kind of extremism to germinate in their own lands. And then they go away and go to Syria and fuck these guys' lives. Imagine the world from their perspective. They have enough trouble with the fucking extremists destroying historical marks and exactly.
None of them are Syrian. They're all people
And
of
now
other
they have a
countries.
British, officially British woman coming there, having a child from an extremist, from a murderer. And then wanting to, the British want to just keep her there? What kind of sense does that make? They want to get rid of her,
Can I
obviously.
tell you something? And I'll tell you something. I get your point, and I'm going to be fair to you. I get your point, and I get...
Yeah, you don't... I think I'm probably far more liberal on this than I do.
But I don't... I'll tell you what, I don't get your point. I believe the responsibility... We can blame Britain as many times as you like. Okay. The parents are to blame.
Yes.
This is their child.
Obviously.
And she, we now know, is born to a family. He was a bit of a radical bloke himself. He's been seen at many issues where he's very extreme anyway. And I believe we are, to a certain extent, not totally, the sum of our legacies of our lives, okay? That's a mixture of our history and our parenting. Our parents can't always make us go the right way. It can happen, but it does usually happen. I am sure... Now, let's be fair. We haven't got an epidemic of this. We haven't got half the country leaving for ISIS here. We've got these odd cases. And so, therefore, I will put the odd case not down to the crap that the British caused. I'm putting it down to her parents. And I'm putting it to the control of her life, which she was grown up to. In a normal family, I don't believe that girl would have had any reason to go to ISIS. Okay? She must have had something within her family that made her, and then she was then ploughed, possibly, and groomed into it. But there's got to be something into it, because she gave something away on an interview. When she said at about 15, I started getting religion. The actual words, she said it. Well, her father's extreme. She's seen the way he does things. She's attended things with him. So I'm not blaming the religion here either. I'm blaming the parents from a parenting
Part of the blame is with the religion. Part of the blame is with the state. And a very big chunk of the blame.
You have to blame the parents.
I will blame the state. I will blame the religion, and I will, most importantly of all, blame her and her parents.
You deny that
the girl wanted to rush to ISIS.
You deny that family is not part of the British community.
And that family to me, have clearly instilled something into her which gives her a loyalty towards something which they didn't control her.
That's an interesting
She's
question.
15 years old. Parents have to control a 15-year-old and make sure they don't
You
steal
do
a
realise
pass.
you're making a very good defence for this girl suddenly, if you follow through what you're saying? You're making a very good defence for this girl. Oh, she was brought up in an environment
No, I'm not
with
giving a
parents.
defence for a girl. I'm saying she's,
No, you actually
now,
are.
her family have made her a high risk, and I still don't want her back. She's a high
but that's
risk.
not a morally consistent
But there's blame
position.
for it.
Yes,
It's
it's
not
not
Britain's to
it's
blame,
not
it's
only
her.
because of her. She's also a result of her surroundings.
Yeah.
But we
that doesn't
cannot
mean she should come back.
we cannot let her go unpunished, because she needs to be an example. She needs to be an
We
example
made
for
her an
everybody.
example. Don't let her back. That's the
Not
example.
yet, not yet. Leaving her in Syria is not making her an example.
Absolutely.
She's where she
I'm stuck where I
wanted to
should be
be.
on it.
She's with her terrorist boyfriend. She is where she wanted to go. She has a
So why
child
don't
from
we
the
invite
terrorist
boyfriend
She
in
needs to
as
be
well,
put in
and
jail. The child will be taken away from her, given to somebody
Where was
else
the child born?
when the child will be
Is
born.
the child Syrian as far as you're concerned? It was born in Syria.
No, that doesn't. That's
Wait,
matter
I
then.
don't know one thing. Is the child born already, or is she
No,
still
the child's
pregnant?
born.
It's born.
It's Syrian.
It's born already. Okay, I do apologize. I didn't know that. I didn't know that little
There is no
detail.
It's a legal technicality. It's not a moral
Has
technicality.
Whether the child stays in
natural
Syria
ability-
or goes to the UK, it doesn't matter.
Has
For
that
me, it doesn't
child
matter.
got,
It's
legal
the
right
child,
to
yeah.
be a
But
Syrian
what does
national?
matter is that the child will be completely separated
in
from
Britain,
the
you
mother,
understand
from the
it's
father,
Syrian.
from the whole
don't
environment.
get natural
That's the thing that matters from me.
Because in Britain,
for me.
they go by your birth.
That's the
Well,
main
also
thing we
your
need to
mother,
do.
You do go by your mother's
It's
birth.
not the
They do go by your
And
mother.
we need to show everybody who sympathizes with ISIS that if they do sympathize and if they do act on their sympathies, they will be punished for it. And if they have children, they will be ripped apart
Now
from
his
them.
argument that I'm leaning towards her is actually very well put. I'm going to back
Thank
him
you.
up. No, that's a good point.
I want to be morally consistent from all
I get
frames
it.
of reference.
But what I'm going to be fair to myself, and to be honest for this camera, and to be honest for this discussion, I want to be honest. I get that, but taking that still into account, do I see her as a profiling danger to
Yes,
Britain?
she is.
Yes.
Yes,
Unfortunately,
she is.
don't come
She's
in.
a danger
Okay,
to
but
everybody.
stay away.
Of the UK.
She's a danger to
Not
everybody.
Syria.
We're going to
You don't-
unresponsibility ourselves to
The
protect
next
our
day
people.
she might put a
That's
bomb
how I
on
see
her
it.
and blow her.
That's what I think we should
throwing
do.
their
When
trash
can
in
I-
our country.
Now, what we're going to do here, I think,
Sorry.
is I think there's a great chance she will probably come in because they'll get
think
round the
I've
law
got
and the lawyer will probably get it through. And I can't stop that happening. The only thing we are looking at now
Thank God,
is
'cause
our
this is
treason
the-
laws and all sorts of laws we're trying to bring in now, where we could actually bring in old acts of parliament and everything to show why we can refuse her. I know the international law is you can't make her stateless. I'm not talking about the international law position, and technically I should be the honourable person saying we should abide by the law. But I'm talking from a profiling danger situation. I'm a great believer in prevention is better than cure. So for one person, let's prevent something. Don't worry about when it eventually potentially
That's
happens.
exactly where it's the
Just
state's
prevent.
fault because the
You
state
have to
didn't
be
prevent it at all.
consistent, as
Go
you
ahead,
said.
go ahead.
Can I go ahead? Can I dive in?
Go.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I've
Go
got,
for it.
I think, three things.
Yeah,
One of
please
them will be a
dive in,
question.
please
First
dive in.
thing
Please
is,
dive in.
I think an individual is a sum of multiple inputs. Okay, it's not the state or the family or your history or your religion. All of them contribute. That they are all your environment.
Yeah.
They all contribute.
Many things.
I think there's a hierarchy, and probably your family comes near the top of that hierarchy. So to say it's not the state is to miss one of the factors. It is the state and the family. The family's probably
The
dominant.
family's the ultimate
And the
responsibility.
religion.
Right, so we want to allocate.
Family
We want
has
to
the
allocate
ultimate responsibility
responsibility
for the child.
accurately according to cause. Yeah, somewhere in the zeitgeist of Britain at the moment has probably contributed. Yeah, but the family primarily. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Secondly, at what point? I want to find out just quickly how hardline you guys are. If she put her hand on the Quran, says, "I now renounce this. I see the error of my ways," and she was contrite and sincere, would that influence
Wouldn't
you
mean
in
a
any
word,
way?
wouldn't mean a thing to me.
Okay, well then I'll put you what I think is
Neither
the
of it
okay.
would to
I wouldn't trust it, actually.
You weigh out the swings and
Me too.
roundabouts of this. She may
agree
be a
about that.
risk on the negative
I agree
side.
about that.
Okay.
Sorry.
On the negative side, she may be a risk, although frankly, I'm not scared of a 15-year-old girl right now. Blah, blah, blah.
Potential risk. I
Potential, okay. But on the swings and roundabouts as a positive, the best thing that could happen here would be if she came back, she realised she'd been wrong, she admitted she'd been wrong publicly and saw it as a lesson to other people, as a lesson in how Britain has got a slightly moral high ground here,
That's
as
the
leading
reason
by
resolution.
example. Hopefully we could all agree that's the best, maybe fairy tale
Yeah,
future that
that's
could
optimal,
happen,
that's
yeah?
optimal.
Now what I want to know is why shouldn't we aim for the best? And that's the best story I can see here.
Right,
Yeah?
but I think you're missing one thing. The
Go
best
on.
story from my point
I have
of
an
view.
answer too.
The best from my side is an easiest thing. She's not in the country at the moment. She's not a risk to this country while she's here, so
Yeah,
we don't
you're
have the
playing-
issue.
Yeah, no, you're playing
so
it
therefore,
safe.
the preventative thing has worked. There is no danger from her at this moment because she's not in this country.
No, you're right.
As soon as you bring her in, you bring the risk.
Yeah.
So I've got to assess that risk.
Got it.
But I understand, is that a good course? Well, from a point of view, you could be proven right that could be the right course.
And I could be wrong.
But from a prevention point, I'm asked to make a decision now. The country is being asked to look at a decision. And they're going very, very high risk. Let's just leave her aside. That's the way it happens.
Where? You
could.
And I know it sounds hard line, but that's what a profiler will do with you at an airport and all sorts of things. He'll decide how many times you go to America. They go, "I'm terribly sorry, we can't allow you into America today because of X, Y, and Z," and they'll throw you home.
Yeah, but that's Trump's America.
Right? No, I'm not talking about Trump's America. I'm talking about lots of other
But
countries
Americans
as well.
don't do that
It's
to
not
other
just America. It's
Americans.
not just
That's
America.
not how it works. They
A
can
lot
do
of
that to someone coming in on
all
a
over
visa.
the world.
We're
You
not
know.
They have
Americans.
authority to do
Australia
that.
does it all the time.
They
The
can't
issue
do
Not
is,
to its own people, not to its own
if we're happy to profile people as all being potential bombers and risk before we can prove we're not.
Decide.
We're doing it with her. Do I think she's a potential risk? Do I think she's a potential risk to this country? Yes. And for that reason, it's easier, I'll be honest, I'm not sitting on the fence, it's easier for me to say to you that I'm happier she's not here at the moment.
Listen, to be honest, I'm a potential risk to this fucking country, and okay, you want to ban me?
The government can make
I have common sense.
It's not common sense.
I have an answer of
So
three
can I ask a
words.
question?
Problem's not here, is
Can I ask
it?
a
The
question?
problem is not
Okay,
in
go ahead.
Zimbabwe at the
Before
moment.
I
So
say
let's
what
leave
I
it
Can I
away.
ask a question?
Don't want it.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't
go.
want the problem.
Right.
I don't want the problem. I don't want the headache.
Let's ask a question. This is the question I need to ask you.
She made her own choices.
You here in England, right?
Correct.
And here in America, it's gone to the Middle East, which is almost 4,000 miles away from your country, to go and bomb people in their own land. Ain't that a
You're
part
okay
of
with that?
this racism?
Are you okay with that?
What?
Are you okay with
Ain't that murder?
Country?
Ain't
Got
that terrorism?
nothing to do with this
It's
issue.
what?
It is.
It's
No,
what?
Because
no disrespect, we're not
You're-
having a
you're-
debate
it's not-
about
it's not a
Britain's
debate. I'm
war
asking a
policy. I'm
question.
talking about a girl who I
asking a
believe is a
question.
risk to
Yeah,
this
but-
country.
yeah, but she-
She's still
Come
a
here,
risk to
guys,
this
come here,
country,
come here.
and I'm
Let's
profiling
shift
as
a
a
little
risk. I
bit
don't
so
want to
these
back
guys
here.
can
I'm not
talk.
talking about the wars in. I'm talking about this one individual we're talking
your
about.
liability.
So you're not giving her a chance.
conversation.
No, you're giving her a chance.
So what's the evidence?
talking about the
What's
one
the
person.
evidence of risk from Shamima Begum?
We don't know till she does
Right,
something.
so you
Prevention.
don't-
Prevention
okay.
is better than cure.
No, but you said there's a risk. Well, you said there was a risk. We won't know that she is a risk until we allow her as a British citizen back into the
See if she
country,
does something,
and
I
then
get it.
she's sat down by the police and the intelligence
you're
services,
missing the point.
and
You're
we
missing
also
the
have
point.
testimony.
No,
And let her bomb a
He's not
supermarket.
listening. We also have testimony from the Kurdish fighters who may have some information, intelligence on whether she was a key player in recruiting other females, etc., etc., etc. So she's a British citizen. Her child is a British citizen and was a British citizen when they were born to her. And all we have, the issue we have now is that we have a Home Secretary who's acting the tough guy, who's a Muslim himself, and has basically decided that he will increase his chances of being elected as Tory leader by being the tough guy on this issue. Okay? She should be here's my bet. It'll go through the courts, it'll take 2 or 3 years, we may have an end of the Tory government by then, and she'll be allowed back into the country.
I haven't said that she might not be let in.
Have you seen her use any bomb or kill anyone?
Right, can I tell you something?
We don't.
I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. You come through an airport now today, and I'm looking at you, and you're looking at me. I'm going to give you an example. And I don't know whether you're going to be a bomber, do I?
That's right.
But for that moment, I'm going to go, I'm not sure about you. I want to check you out. So I'll dehumanise.
just
what I meant
again.
by that.
You mean
No, I'm asking these questions. The same question. It's the same point.
I don't see the connection.
Yes, well, you may not, but I'm going to explain it. The issue is that you, I don't know you, you don't know me. So how do I know whether she's going to be a bomber? I'm not saying she's going to be a bomber. I'm not that crass with it. What I'm saying is the fact hang on.
The question is one for the authorities. It's not for us to make up our
I think
mind.
everybody's missing a very key thing here.
And for that
think
reason,
something
I
is
find that she's
seriously
too high
wrong in
risk.
this conversation.
It's easier for her not.
Seriously wrong.
Hang on. I believe that she's too high at
I'm not going to talk
risk,
for very long,
and
but I have
therefore she shouldn't come back.
We're going around in
It's
circles
easier
here.
not
You
having
have
her.
no evidence of risk.
You guys are complicating
No.
without
What you're saying
necessity.
is
You have no proof that
what
she's
you're
killing
saying is.
anyone,
Let me
right?
answer this. What can I answer? What you're saying is the police should detain people. You're saying the police or the you're saying the police or the state should simply detain people on some notion about risk. No, we need evidence of
That's
risk.
how it
We need
sometimes
evidence
happens,
of risk.
actually. That's how it does
There
happen
is
in the
evidence
real
of
world.
risk.
In the real world,
No, it doesn't.
James, it really
We have
happens
rule
like
by
that.
law. We have rule by law.
Evidence of risk.
We have rule by law. She's a British citizen. She has legal rights. Her child has a right. Okay, she has the right of return, and she has the right, if arrested, to be properly
You
lawyered
weren't here at the beginning
and
of the
to be
conversation.
properly
when we were
interrogated.
talking. I said to you, this is an interesting conversation for me.
Is that you can actually.
I think I've been fair on this.
Right.
I'm
And it's the same
I'm
rule
not-
of law for
These
I'm not
people's
going
interests
against
are
the
being
law.
forgotten.
If the law
You're forgetting
decides
about their
tomorrow she can
interests.
come back, I have to
Okay,
accept
all right,
it.
guys, I'll have to butt in
Can you
this
let
one.
him
I'll
talk
have
a bit,
to
actually?
say
He was here
something.
ahead of the game, yeah?
I have
And he's
3
now got marginalised
keywords
by this.
about the answer of this problem. No more mercy.
Thank you.
There has been
Rob,
enough mercy in the past.
No. No,
there
it's
has
not
been
about
enough
mercy. That's a
fake,
moral question. This
stupid
is a
tolerance.
legal question.
This
And the
stupid
legal
tolerance
question, we'll deal with the morality later,
of
whether
people
we're going
who
to
kill
forgive her or
others,
whatever.
who are
I don't know who's going to do the
extremists.
forgiveness.
Bro,
Forgive your
wait
family.
up.
It's a legal question.
Wait up.
Could you let him finish?
It's a legal question.
She has been involved openly with ISIS. Openly.
It's a
she
legal
has a
question.
child.
We hear this
She has a
guy,
child
please.
from a murderer.
It's a legal
from
question.
an ISIS cooperator, from a jihadi person.
We know
How
the
can
story.
we allow
We know
this
the
person
story.
to have?
Everybody knows the
That's
story.
Why are you
interrupting? The question, I'm not interrupting you, sir. I'm trying to talk
you are
sense. You're
interrupting
just wasting our time.
No, we
You
were
are
here
wasting
before
your
you
time.
and you
We
walked
all
There
in.
has
the
been
story.
too much mercy.
We all know
Think
the
about
story.
these people. How are their lives, knowing that the person who
If we
ruined their
accept your
country is
argument,
going
no
to go
more mercy,
unpunished?
we should drop our standards
Completely
to the same
unpunished.
level as ISIS.
How does
They
this
showed
work?
No mercy. We
I
should show
get
no
this.
mercy. What kind of morality is
saying-
that? That's why we
James,
shouldn't get involved in
James,
morality.
there can be no
It's a
more
legal
mercy for
question,
these people.
First and
James, I
foremost.
got your
Got
point.
it.
Your point you're trying to make, which I accept. And
No,
I
I've
told
made the
these
point.
guys,
I'm not trying to make it.
Well, you
I've made the
keep
point.
making the same point, and
but
so
I'm
does
making
he.
the point is, I'm not talking about the legalities here.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
You've asked me to
already
come and talk
It's a
to you.
legal question.
What's
It's
my
not just a
view
legal
on whether
Complicated
she
by
should be
bringing
here.
in
Morals and
As
Yeah.
a
That's related.
profile,
It's a question of
as
conviction.
a profile, I believe she's high risk. Do not
Yeah,
let
I
her-
am
we're
for
on that.
imprisoning her.
Don't let her back.
I'm for imprisoning her.
Well, you'll have to get her back in the
Based on
country.
her
You can
being
do that
involved
You
with
need
a
her back to
jihadi, based on her having
You'll have
a
to bring her
child
to
from
the
a
country
terrorist.
first. Do you agree with me? She has to be
I
brought
think they
back.
should bring her
What's
to
the
Britain.
easier
Come here,
option?
bro. Come here.
Sorry?
All this waffle,
go ahead.
or her not being here at all. What's the
Okay,
easier
the
option?
thing is, it's
Don't
become a
bring her back.
binary thing. Let it
Don't
run
bring
for
her
a
back.
minute, and then
She's a British citizen,
She's
correct?
a British citizen
Is she a
who
British
has gone
citizen?
into an area
Is-
where she's made herself high
Now,
profile.
hold on a
risk.
second. There was a Tory backbencher who asked a question in the Houses of Parliament of the Home Office Minister, and he asked, should we revisit the laws of treason? That is a quintessentially stupid question. Why? Because ISIS was never a state. It was never recognised as a state by Britain, the EU or the UN. It's like the Isle of Dogs. The Isle of Dogs declared independence in the 1960s. Was that recognised by the UN? No. ISIS
Same
was
with the
never
two
a
regions
real
in
state.
Ukraine,
So
Donetsk and
therefore, when
Luhansk.
she went,
They were never recognized,
when she
but they
went into
exist.
ISIS territory,
They're terrorist
she did not
states.
commit treason because there was no
I
state.
don't care about treason.
Right.
I'm
So
talking
she
about
went.
whether
She
she's
went
a risk
as a
for Britain. I believe she
15-year-old
is a risk
after
for
being
Britain.
groomed online,
treason.
right, by adults. Her marriage therefore was
needs to be
illegal.
fixed
She was therefore statutorily
somehow.
raped by her
Fixed.
husband.
It's about
Okay.
profiling.
I would
Exactly.
suggest we should have some
It's about
sympathy,
preventing.
but
It's
not
about fighting
I'm trying
against
to
this
get him
kind
forget
of
that
shit.
she may have committed crime.
Yeah, no,
The
I
girl has had her life thoroughly
about
ruined.
profiling.
Right?
She's a
And I'm
danger.
neither religious
The
nor a
Syrians
Muslim.
themselves have suffered
I
because of
actually
her
agree
and because
with
of others
both
like
you
her.
I
guys.
don't care about
I-
a baby, nothing. It's just a danger.
I want to address your point first. I just want to say that you're talking about the fact that she's a risk, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Based
Right.
on that, what you're
we
saying
had a good
basically
point.
in very simple
We
terms,
haven't revoked our
to assess
wife
whether she's a
first.
risk or not.
Sorry.
To assess whether she's a risk
evidence
or
of
not.
risk.
You need evidence,
SS
right?
wife.
Could I come to you today and say that you committed a crime based on hearsay?
Right,
If
okay.
you told me that you committed a
Can we
crime,
play a game for a minute?
Should
Should we do
Can
the
you answer my
profiling?
question first?
I'm going to answer it by doing this game.
Answer it first.
You're Shamima
Yes or no?
Begum. Hello, Miss Begum. Where have you been? I've been to ISIS. What have you done in ISIS? Well, I married a jihadist, and I watched people get beheaded, and I just saw them. The things were in the bin. Are you upset for what you did? Well, I think British policies made me justify
No crime has been
whatever.
committed there.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
No
hang
crime
on a
has been
minute.
committed.
What ideology you've learnt about? Well, I've learnt about that there was a fight for this state to do with Allah and all this, and she goes through this whole rationale of her logic. To me, maybe not to you, I would go, you're bang high risk for this country from terrorist experience. Therefore, it's easier for me to go, thank you so much, you're not coming back into my country where you're a danger.
What do you mean
I-
your country?
that's it. I don't-
It's her country.
I've answered your
She's
question.
British.
I don't
Officially,
I
She's
don't
lost her
disagree with
status
you.
because she's too dangerous to come back
No,
here.
there's no law
There's
that
this thing
says no. And do you not see
I
any
know
issues?
the law,
do you
James.
don't know. You don't
You're
seem to
missing what I'm
appreciate
saying.
that
He's
if they
missing
can
what I'm
do
saying.
that for people who are unpopular
If the law
like
says
her,
she can
they
come
could
back,
do
she
it for
can come
anyone.
back.
So you have the
Laws are
state
created for
basically saying
functionality.
we can take away your nationality on
Forget the law.
There is no functionality in letting jihadis get away with it.
For once,
There's
you're
zero
not
functionality with
Put them
it.
in court. She has to come back and she's
I'm
going to
making
go to
myself
court.
very clear here. It's not the law. If the law of the land, which I abide by, decides tomorrow that
she'll have to be readmitted, fool. She'll have to be readmitted before that.
Why don't could this guy talk?
You can't interrogate the woman by video.
I'm answering your question.
She'll have to be readmitted.
He asked the question. Let me answer it.
I know, I want him to answer.
So you go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I'm trying to give you an answer to your question. This guy keeps telling me to shut up. I'm trying to give you the answer, and then I'll listen to you. What I'm saying to you is, the answer to your question to me is, I get his point about the law. If tomorrow the law decides that she can come back, because that's the law, I have to accept it as a British citizen. That's not the reason I'm having this discussion here. Somebody asked me to join this discussion because I had views on it, to say, Ian, do you think she should come back? And I'm telling you from a profiling point, I think she's dangerous. My answer is no.
Let me ask you another question.
You're not an expert on profiling.
Let me ask him another question.
No, he's setting himself up as an expert in police profiling. You're not.
That's his opinion. He's entitled to that.
It's an opinion.
So let me tell him. Can I ask you a question?
Not.
Can I ask you a question?
You're not.
Oh, you're not.
You're not.
Guys, you're not going to sit and argue that one.
How do you think? How do you think
You
you should decide? How do you think? How do you think you should assess that she's a threat or not? When can you try her?
Because I'm using my human intuition to decide what I think.
What's that based on? What's that based on?
Your Honour, human intuition told me she was a risk.
Information suggests she is a potential threat.
Based on?
She is a potential threat.
I think
so based on what?
I don't agree with
human intuition has no stand.
Based on what you've read? Based on what you've read and what you saw, right?
Prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure.
That's not a legal principle.
She's a risk.
It's not a legal principle. Bye-bye nothing. She's a British citizen, sir. You don't like her. I don't like her. I don't think her views are healthy.
You asked my view.
She is a British citizen.
Here, that's my view.
Is that
right?
Do you think that's
based on nothing except prejudice?
You just respect my view.
No, it's not. It's not. It's based on.
I respect the stupid view.
It's not. It's based on the common sense notion.
Of course, it's prejudice.
I'm just saying that I believe she's a risk.
What the fuck?
Someone's shouting. Hopefully
Is that
they're not
Jason
being
Bird
attacked.
or something? He's a bit.
Or someone's having a panic attack for
Somebody's possessed.
No,
Somebody
I just want to come back at your point and say,
Jesus.
can I ask you a question? If a 15-year-old relative of yours
exactly
was taken, abducted,
yes,
at 15, okay?
That's different.
Groomed.
Abduction's different.
Groomed, okay?
Jackson's different.
Someone that you know, someone a relative.
Someone's upset.
But okay, so
do you remember when you were 15? I made some big mistakes when I was 15, 16, 17.
James,
okay?
He asked the question. You've used one word, abduction. She wasn't abducted, was she?
No, she was groomed. He didn't say abduction, he said groomed.
If she's abducted, my answer may be different.
Okay, fine.
If she's kidnapped,
she wasn't abducted.
No, if she was
why are you bringing up abduction? She wasn't abducted.
I might look at it differently.
Not abduction.
But she's still a danger. She might still be a danger, even though she was abducted. But I might look at it differently.
But even if she's a risk, that's not grounds for denying her nationality on a legal basis.
That's fine.
You appear to be saying, and you just said
it,
like the front page of the Sun, because she's suspected of doing something, bye-bye.
So the premise of this
Who the hell are you? You're not the judge of people's nationality.
I made my own decision, and that's it.
It's a legal decision.
It's not your fucking decision.
Then you would accept
Thank you.
it. So the whole point of this, the whole reason why this started is because somebody asked you for your
What happened to your
opinion.
answers when they got their nationality denied, yeah?
Is that how this whole thing started?
Sorry, I can't hear because it's shouting at me.
Allow me to see.
So I don't know, Joseph.
So the whole reason why this started is because you were asked of your opinion on this.
They're asking me an opinion. Do I think she should come back? And I say,
what's the opinion based on?
Right, that's fine.
Because he doesn't like my opinion.
No, it's not based on the law, or it's based on ignorance of the law. Denial of the
have
law.
her citizenship and be tried, you would accept it.
It's just a dressed up biased argument.
I don't like that person. I'm worried about that as well. We know that the biggest thing of radicalisation is done in prisons in this country. So what are you going to do? You're going to take her from a place where she's been radicalised and put her into a radicalisation system, which happens a lot in prisons. You'd have to have all sorts of issues, a lot of care. Now, okay, I'll be on your side for a minute, and I'll be on his side for a minute. Okay, I'll go by the law, and we bring her back. Then she goes through the prison system. We may have to care for her. We may have to de-radicalise or whatever that is. I don't know. Hang on a minute. It's not easy to de-radicalise. I mean, they can make out they're being de-radicalised.
This shit
Yeah, he was okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he was being held by the police.
Is he a small bloke? Is he a small bloke?
I don't know. No, he just freaked out.
No, he's like this
was a
tall,
bloke.
more or less, a blonde guy.
It was a guy.
It's a guy. The police have got him. He's fine.
Yeah, the police was holding him.
So going back to your point. point, right? So, I sort of, funny enough, I do get where James thinks I'm not disagreeing with him. I see from the legal point he's talking about. I wasn't
talking about. Trying to agree with everyone.
No. James, let me finish. Thank you very much indeed. Right. The issue is, at least I'm giving clear points where I'm standing. Right. The issue is that
you're not arguing on principle.
She's not been abducted. Okay, she went of her own free will. The other thing she did, she was so conniving, she stole her sister's passport to get out of the country. Which how they let her out, I have no idea. I mean, in some ways it's ridiculous. But they connived their whole way through Turkey, through a flight to Turkey. Then they go to Raqqa, they get in via the Turkish border. That's a hell of a lot of planning. So she's not been abducted, like this gentleman quite rightly says. She could be thrown in the back of a car or something.
Listen, that was just a slip of the tongue.
I worry about
my point was that someone can be influenced.
I'm going to try and make this really simple. I'm really trying to make this simple. I'm having difficulty making it simple because everyone's trying to stop me speaking. I'm trying to make it simple and stop.
I'm allowing you to speak.
What I'm trying to make it really simple.
I get it. You think it's legal.
I have to forget her baby. I have to forget her history. I forget all this. I just have to look hard enough. Is it better for me because he's not avoiding the issue from my viewpoint?
I will shut up if you can shut him up.
I'm going.
Move it on.
Yes.
I agree with you because we're
It's
going on in
not to have
circles.
that issue. And a profiler
make
will
some
probably
progress.
say the same thing.
Okay, excuse me. You know, you said you were invited into this. You did say at some point.
You know, we're not making any sense.
All this guy ever does is tell me how I've got to have my conversation.
Can you make his reply?
Why is
everybody hating on you all of this? No, it's fine. He had this time to speak. Let him make his response.
You are
have the conversation. He just wants to tell me how to have the conversation.
You are owning the space and reiterating the same point.
I think he just wants to make one point.
No, I don't have to live with it. No, not living with it.
Do you not think that is a slippery slope? Do you not think that's a slippery slope for the government to then make just because you're not the government isn't in agreement with that particular? Do you not think that's a slippery slope? We're looking at it from a legal perspective, from a legal standpoint. That's the whole reason why we don't have elected individuals to make these decisions, because otherwise it would make irrational decisions based on emotion.
I'm going to make the point again.
Have people.
I get the legal issue. I'm law-abiding. If the country says tomorrow, the legal system, like James is saying, to be fair to him, she has to come back. And I'm not going to protest it. I have to accept it. But you asked me to tell you if I believe she should be back by me. And he's saying, who am I to profile? I'm not the only one doing this. They have a petition of nearly 1 million people in the UK who are worried about this girl. And therefore, when there's a petition, it has to be debated by Parliament now whether this woman can come back. The issue is that I personally am not sitting on the fence. You asked me the question. I want her to stay away from my country. I believe prevention is better than cure. She's a risk.
But do you think it's right that they stripped over citizenship? Do you think it's right that they stripped over citizenship?
I'm trying to. Can we try and move this thing forward a bit?
Go.
Guys, excuse me. Going to try and move it forward a bit. Can I synopsise where I think we're at?
Go ahead.
You think she's a risk. I think anyone who says she's not a potential risk isn't paying attention. I think that's a fact you should put on the table.
I agree.
You're saying there's a legal dimension to this. I think that's a fact.
It's a legal question.
It's definitely a legal question.
In totality.
It doesn't mean it's only a legal question.
Well,
okay.
It's legal first and morality.
I'm just trying to synopsise.
Okay.
The legal issue should be on the table. If you can't see it's got a legal dimension, you're missing it. If you can't see it's a potential risk, I think you're missing it. Does that make sense so far? So how do we synthesise those two things?
I think you will agree it's a risk, right?
And could we also agree there's a moral question in here about a girl who is
getting all like uppity, like moral.
And that, if we can synthesise the position for the girl and the legal,
can we move to that point about the issue that she's a child?
It is a moral question.
Let's go round.
Was a child.
Okay.
Let's go round.
It's a moral question, but it's a legal question. I'm going to leave that. It's a legal question first. It is a moral question. So, if she goes to prison, if she's found guilty or whatever, then the question arises, should there be a second chance for her? She's a 19-year-old. Should she be given a second chance? Answer, yes, because she will leave prison at some point and prison policy in this country is to try and make people decent human beings.
It doesn't always work like that. It radicalises them
fine,
even
but let's
more.
not get pessimistic.
But there's radicalisation going on in prison.
May or may
whatever,
not
whatever.
work.
Some of the most of the big bombers came from prison. They were in prison
all
to
of that.
start with.
But she will be under a watch list whether
So
she's
liberal,
in.
it's
Right?
unbelievable.
Well, yes, I'm liberal, and I'm glad I live in a liberal democracy.
Yeah, but
you
you're
forget
too
that
liberal
sometimes.
sometimes.
No,
You're being
I'm
too
not too
soft,
liberal.
James.
Your opinion.
You've got to be hard.
Of course
I
it
hate
is.
people
But
say that. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. In your opinion, I hate people.
my liberalism is based on a fundamental belief in the founding of rule of law as the basis for our democracy. And therefore, when a politician just stands up, we don't know fully what evidence he's got, but we'll find out through the select committee what he was told, and simply acts the tough guy, which is how I see the current Home Office Minister, acting the tough guy, and announces, I believe, something that was borderline legal. And we need to remind ourselves that this business of taking away dual nationality is a recent innovation, which was created by who? Theresa May, the last Tory Home Office
With respect,
Minister.
could we not turn this too much into a political
we are going
Well,
a bit-
we
critique
need
of the
to say
Tory
that.
party?
I'm not
I'm not a Tory
ask me a
voter.
straight question.
I'm
whether
not
I want
having
to
a go.
back or not.
I'm not having
And
a
every
go
time
at
I
the
ask
Tory
a question,
party.
I'm
I
getting
wanted to
bashed
ask a
for it.
question.
We're very choosy
I'm
about
not-
who they go for him. There's two other guys, people.
We're getting
There's Assad's
political
wife,
here.
and there's a
I
white
agree with you.
Oxfordshire kid
hang on,
in the
his
same
point he's making is
situation
very
who's
interesting.
got dual nationality, and they haven't. This hasn't come into the media because the Oxfordshire kid has got Canadian citizenship and it's got British citizenship.
Right.
No, the media is just not interested in
How old
that
was he
kid.
when you
But it's not decided by the media, sir. It's decided
Yeah, no,
in
it's
court.
not.
But the
it sounds like
difficulty
it is decided by the media.
The difficulty
That's
is, and
right.
the only reason I brought it up is not to have a go at the Tories, is because this really has not been tested in the courts. It was brought in, yes, it's legal and all the rest. I'm not suggesting under the table or anything like that. But the general principle, and it's not just dual nationalities. I mean, people can have 4, 5, 6. There's no upper limit on the number of nationalities. So in post-Brexit Britain, should we have the kind of
You're
Brexit?
saying rule of law is absolute.
It depends on the country.
It's
There are
fundamental.
countries
Okay,
that
then
don't
can
allow
I,
it.
can I try and
Use
move the
some common
discussion on by
sense as
saying,
well. Do you not
if
see
you
a
remove
risk?
if you remove the
Do you not see
legal,
she's a risk?
hang on, I think I'll move on. If you
We
remove
don't know what the
legal,
risks are. You keep going on about the risks. We don't know
That's
what
the
the
whole
risks
point of
are.
prevention. That's
given
what you do. You
rule
don't
of
know
law
what
is paramount, now, hypothetically, now remove the legal dimension from the discussion. There's still a discussion to be had. It's now moral and it's about safety of the nation and stuff like that. If you ignore the legal
Is
position...
that a moral question?
Yeah, I think there's a moral position from how you handle a 15-year-old girl and her culpability. There's the risk to the nation. So if you just remove the political, the
Fine.
legal dimension, then where do you stand?
But surely
That's
moral
then what I'd be
questions start
interested
with forgiveness. Is there forgiveness?
Fine.
Well, look, you may fall as
Sorry, you guys
forgiveness.
next.
So, who does the forgiveness? Right? Is her family going to forgive her for bringing shame on their family by all the things that she may be found guilty
Her
of?
father's a fundamentalist. Do you not
So what?
realise
They're
we
human
got this
beings
wrong?
and they're British.
I'm with that as well.
They're
They're
human
people as
beings
well,
and they're British. We may not like their views, but they're human beings and they're British.
Can I
We
capitalise
must.
on that point?
Well, most
Go
suicide
ahead.
bombers
Could I-
are human beings
could
before
I-
they blow themselves to pieces.
Yes.
Could I
We need to
come in?
never
Is that all
forget
right?
that.
We worked that out.
So should we go
On this
you
point-
and then you
on this
and
point,
then
this
Pablo?
is
I'm sure
annoying
got
because
I'll be
not
very brief. I'll be very brief.
I'm holding it, so that's cool. Go.
Well, I was going to say, I think we were talking about the family, right? I think the question actually starts from a moral perspective, from the origin. So why did she feel the need to go? I think the important questions have been asked. So no one's actually asked her in the interviews, why did she go?
Fair enough. Yeah,
What pushed the 15-year-old child to feel like, oh, I've heard about this cause. I feel like I'm attracted to it. Let me go over and see what's happening. Why would someone get into that mentality in the first place? So I think from a moral perspective, that's more my problem.
Where do you
should
think
start
she may have got it from?
I'm not here to assume. Okay?
I would think she got
why
it from her
not?
father,
My
who's
question-
as a well-known radical.
No.
He's a well-known
Gentlemen, the
radical.
best answer to this is get her back in the country,
father
put her
is
through a legal police
I don't know
process,
that. I don't know.
let her be properly advised.
I'd like to
She wasn't advised during the media interviews. That's a 19-year-old in a refugee camp, pregnant.
Yeah, that's
Poorly
I
advised.
understand. I
She
And
needs
it's
to be
been edited.
properly
You can tell
advised,
where it's been
and
edited.
then
That bit I
she
get
needs to be
as well.
told
I'm not blind to
that
that, I get
the
that.
British state will look
I still
more
think she's
leniently
high
on her if she's involved in criminal cases
don't change
if
my
she
view.
tells the truth. And that is a principle in British law. If you are at first interview, you spill the beans and you tell the truth, you will get a lesser tariff in prison.
And I don't disagree, by the way, that she is a risk. Okay, having been there that amount of time, you can see how desensitized she is from the video as well. I think that's a really big concern.
Do you see the problem with security question? When
I
you're
never
asking a
disagreed
security
with
question
you,
as
but I
someone,
disagreed.
We agreed. We all agreed.
I get his. Believe it or not, even though James is nodding his head, I am not beyond what he's trying to say about the legal issue. I get that, and it would be lovely for me to go, we've got to follow the law. I understand that. People have asked me a hardline question. Ian, do you think she should come back or not? I'm going, from my point of view, I think she's beyond the scale danger.
Okay.
For various reasons.
We've heard that about 10
reasons,
times.
and I don't want to.
We've heard that about 10
Do you want it to be
times.
tried though?
Well, I think it's him, then
Now,
him, then him,
right,
then
that's an
Separate
interesting
question.
one because
Separate
the
question.
trial
Moving
we've got.
we're on you.
Would
you like to
no,
say
he asked.
something?
He asked. He's asking questions.
You need to
You're
get the
listening.
order right.
You're
Yes,
asking a question,
okay.
aren't you?
You need to get the order
He's
right.
asking a question.
and then
He's
you
asking
let
a
me
question.
answer.
Then we can assess the
No, he's
security
asking
risk.
a question.
Nothing yet. Let him speak.
Do I believe?
Say
No,
something.
he said, do you believe it should be tried? He's asked me a question. So I'm
It just needs a quick response. That's it. Just a quick response.
That's right. Tried for what?
For the crime that you believe she's a security
I
risk.
didn't say
Not
she's
being allowed.
committed any
So
crime.
how can she be a
I'm
security
saying she's a security risk.
What's that?
Stay where you are.
Yeah, what does that
Have you
mean,
got my
like?
point
Does that
now?
not make you a criminal if you're a security risk?
Why,
She's not
why
being.
is
If
she-
she's being
no
tried,
evidence of risk.
if she was already
Why is
murdered
she
someone, she'll be
security
tried
risk?
for it.
You don't
So why is
understand the
it- No,
basic
wait.
operation of the
No,
law.
I'm
She'll
about
be
to
tried
get
where
someone
she
here.
was. She wouldn't necessarily be tried here.
But I'm asking you if no, I'm just saying, do you think she should be tried?
No, I believe she should be just left
All
away
right.
from the
So
UK.
deny her rights
Fine,
under the
fine.
law.
That's it,
Yes,
he's spoken. That's
because
it.
she
Okay.
lost her
That's
rights
what
when
you
she
do
left this country
And
and
joined what?
became a risk. She became
Joined
a
what?
high-profile
She didn't
risk.
join
As
another
a result.
state.
Let the man
Gentlemen,
speak.
You just want to deny a British
I
citizen.
know you
You
don't like the
Yeah, I
answer,
just
but
want to
that's
hear
what
his answer. I just want to hear his
deny-
answer. I don't have a comment.
Hey guys,
I
I have a
guys.
suggestion.
Right.
Shall we have a conch?
A what?
A conch is a thing that one person holds and they control the conversation and it's passed around.
I'm done.
You want to deny a
So
British
it's yours.
citizen the rights for no good
Let the
reason
guy
simply
speak.
because
Do you
you
like the
don't
top?
like
I
them.
made my point clear.
I've
I've
made
made my point
It's a
clear.
rubbish point.
I'm not sitting on
It's
the
a
fence,
rubbish
though, am
point.
I? I've made my
I know,
point.
you're
want to have
radical. And should we not bring up your ancestors who were denied
Sorry,
their rights
I'm
and you've
staying on the
forgotten
fence,
about that?
everybody.
I'm
I
trying
still
to
believe
figure
it.
out.
Just come back.
Then you'll control the
what he
conversation.
thinks.
That's the idea.
I'm thinking the security of Britain. The security of
Excuse
Britain.
me,
Yeah,
you too.
yeah,
Excuse me. I'm pitching a conch. You all know the idea, yeah?
This
we've
gentleman's a
seen
very
the
nice
picture.
chap, but I wish you would stop telling us how to have the conversation.
Well, you don't let anybody else
To be fair, he
speak.
is trying to keep it moving.
This
Who's
guy
Piggy
asked
then?
me a question and I can't answer it.
No, he can. If he's got the conch, he can
I
address
haven't
you.
come back.
Look,
You got the
I want to
references.
pass on to him.
We don't need a moderator. We don't need a moderator.
Well, actually, we
Sorry.
do, because otherwise you're running.
We don't need a
No,
moderator.
no, we do.
Guys, shut the fuck up. Let the man speak. Come on.
Stop moderating it.
Come on.
Stop owning it.
Well, he's got the
Guys,
camera.
it's okay.
He's
It's
recording
okay.
it.
Let's
Give
let
the
the
guy
guy
a
speak.
break.
Okay,
He's
go ahead,
directing
bro.
his
Go
own
ahead.
video.
All right, cool.
Speak up.
I'm not here. I'm not here to try
Okay,
and.
let this guy do some
your
talk.
reason. I understand your reasoning,
stand back.
and I get it.
Come
I
here.
get what you're thinking, but you also have to consider that this is a 15-year-old at the time who was technically groomed. Am I not? Is that
Yeah,
not
I'm
correct?
taking that
So she
now.
was technically groomed.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, and she made a very dumb decision,
Yes.
as we could all probably agree.
Yes.
But it was a mistake that she made.
Yes.
Which she now regrets.
Yes.
So just off that basis, this is a young girl
Yep.
that has made a decision.
Yep.
That was probably a bad one. We can all
Yep.
agree. However, it was a mistake. And okay, we're not trying to go back to the legal
Should we have a
argument
second
of
chance?
it, but a second chance.
Second
is what we're trying to
chance?
say. You're trying to say that.
No.
You're trying. Yeah.
No.
Okay. But yeah. But okay.
Do you know why?
It's you.
Do you know why?
Send the SAS.
No. Do you know why? We need to make a spectacle of her
Oh, get the
so
hell
that
out of
people
it.
will understand
You know, where do we
that
live? In
that
the
was
Middle
a
Ages?
major mistake. Now, hang on a minute. In our lives, a lot of us may make mistakes in our life that we don't get forgiven for. You don't always get forgiven
do
for your
get
mistakes.
forgiven.
Sometimes
I don't
you
know
pay the
what-
price
which
of your
society
mistake.
do you live in?
what
She
she's
will
actually
pay
done.
the
You say-
price, and it will teach others not
What about
to
her
send
child?
to allow your children
What
to
about
go
the
to
child?
ISIS.
What
It
about
will
the innocent
teach-
child?
It will teach the world.
I understand.
that
But
this
I don't know to what extent.
to the
what
child
she
husband.
Prevention
has
is
done.
better
Yeah,
than
well,
cure.
you
What
think
makes her?
the
I don't know
child's
what she
Syrian.
actually
You
has
just
done
made that
other
up.
than being.
I didn't make that up.
Yeah, you did make it up.
That's
No
what the
legal
Syrian guy
opinion in
told
this
us.
country
Bro,
is
bro,
that
bro, bro,
Muslims
bro,
are
bro,
Syrian.
bro,
You just
don't
made
make
it
up
up.
shit.
However, she's been
I
with
told
an
you the Syrian guys
ideology
told me so.
where
I told
they
you I
have
know.
an
Don't
ideology
make up
where they are
stuff.
quite happy
Well, I've told you the opposite, but you don't accept that. You just coincide with your bias.
And within that ideology, they're at war with us.
Don't make
They're
up
at war
shit.
with our culture, with
Don't make it
Britain,
up.
with the West, for whatever reasons. It could be the right reasons as far as you're concerned. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about why we're doing this. I've answered a question. Should people that make mistakes have a second chance? Yes. Should this lady, because of the profile we're aware of, I think it's too high a profile. I'm afraid she's going to. I think she should be made a spectacle of.
It's not factual.
Because if you
It's
make a
media.
spectacle of it,
You're
there's
judging
other
by
girls.
media.
Hang on a minute.
Judging by
That's
media.
James, a minute. Let me finish. The other girl, there's other girls and there's other guys that might think twice, just might think twice about not doing what she did if they realise they can't suddenly, oh, I need to go back to Britain. It's not about treachery and all that. I'm not interested in that. I've actually put that aside. Even the legal issues, I totally get what James is saying about the legal side.
You don't understand it at all.
I do get it.
You don't understand it at all.
I'm talking about a prevention rather than cure. I'm answering your question to your face.
You're just dressing up your
She has made
your emotional reaction.
Unfortunately, on this one, she's going to pay for it.
Your solution is to leave it there,
Let me tell you guys a story.
It's emotional.
Let me tell you guys a story that I'm certain that nobody knows.
That's the whole of your.
Let me tell you guys a story.
Got it. You, him.
And I want to hear what he.
Let me tell you guys a story. It's about how the Soviet Union was, was. Oh, okay. You can leave if you want. You can leave. You can leave if you want.
That's really disrespectful.
Go ahead.
He knows it's.
No, leave.
He knows
we have to listen to your going on.
When the Soviets under Stalin invaded Ukraine and they started doing the Holodomor in eastern Ukraine and they killed 10 million Ukrainians by starvation, forced starvation, which was one of the worst things in humanity. There was a man called Stepan Bandera who was leading the UPA, which was the Ukrainian rebellious army. Right. When the KGB agents would take the food from villages in western Ukraine and in central Ukraine, his men would attack the camp. They would kill all the KGB agents, kill their wives, kill their children, bring the food back to the people and burn the place. Western Ukraine never suffered from mass starvation.
Right.
Why do you think that never happened? Because some people in this world do not understand anything but brute, mindless force. And you cannot reason with people who only understand force by using reason and by using logic and by using law. The West has suffered way too much because the Westerners became sanctimonious because they believe because they believe that they have the ability of fixing all the world, because they believe that they can be righteous when the world is not righteous.
It's legal. It's called rule
and
of
they
law.
have suffered because of it, and they are suffering because of it right now. And more people will suffer. Think about it. Why are there no Ukrainians, no Russians, no Polish, no Eastern Europeans who go to ISIS and become ISIS members? Why are there British, why are there Germans, why are there French who go to ISIS and becomes ISIS members? Why are they being accepted back into the countries? Why do the Syrians have to suffer? Why do the Syrians have to suffer the flaws of the Westerners?
Every national of a country,
why do they have to suffer?
A national has a right to return to their country.
We've got an opportunity to leave her where
she
is.
It is time for the British and for the Westerners to take responsibility for the shit they did.
I don't know what. This is an anti-Western tirade, is it?
No, it's a pro-Western tirade.
It's actually pro-Western. It's to fix the West's mistakes. Because the West is making many mistakes. Right now. Listen, you cannot.
From the point of view of a part of the world that knows
you guys
nothing
might
about
notice that I
democracy and the
still
rule
have
of
this
law.
thing.
He's got. We're trying to use.
Actually, he has got the thing.
I've given him. You know,
you need to be quiet, sir, the honourable member, if you don't mind, and let him finish.
Yeah, you'll get it back.
It won't take long.
I mean, you're hogging the conversation.
No, I'm not.
It will not take
And he can choose who he addresses.
You're the expert.
We need to create something new. We need to create new rules, new laws to deal with these situations.
Give us an example.
As I talk with, usually I talk with vegans, and they tell me that I need to apply human morality to everyone, to every living being. And I always call them up on it, because you cannot apply human morality to animals. The same way when humans decide not to obey human morality and decide to go full rogue on their animal instincts, we can no longer apply human morality to those creatures. Of course not. I never said so. I never said there was a single human morality. But there are better moralities than others. And that is why we should discuss moralities, so we can come in terms to a better morality. And that is your problem, because you say that the law in Britain, the law that makes the woman come back and be and not be thrown into jail, that's the law that should be followed. You are the one who pursues this morality as to be the absolute truth. You are the one who says that the law is absolute.
Studiously have not made a moral argument. I say it's a legal argument first.
And they might go with your
legality and morality are very different.
There are many moralities in this society.
That is why.
Because you don't like my opinion, it's my opinion.
No, your opinion children is based on nothing except emotional.
I am surprised that this is being an actual discussion about this. Because if you ask me, we need to fix the situation. And we need to make an example. So, okay, last thing, I will just say, guys, let me finish. Then you can ask me. Sorry, you know what? Guys, let me just finish my argument. I will finish by saying what we should do, what should be done, in my opinion, what should be done in this situation. The woman needs to be brought back to the UK.
Okay.
The child, whether it stays in Syria, whether it comes to the UK, this man says that the child is a UK citizen. Fair enough. Then the child should be brought to UK. The child should be immediately taken away from the mother. The parents of the mother should be punished for it, and the mother should be punished for it.
You're going to punish the innocent child by separating it from the mother.
The child should not be punished because the child doesn't have any fault on its hands. But the parents and the woman should be punished in the more severe way possible in the UK.
Chop the head off.
No. That is not the law in the UK. That's actually the law in ISIS. You know, you might agree with ISIS more than you
Why don't we start chopping people's heads off?
You might agree with ISIS more than you do.
Why don't you
That'll save money. He's complaining about the cost of prison. Chop people's heads off.
Dude, if you disagree with him, you two do it. He's got the conch, talk to him. Why are you talking to them? Sorry, for a minute.
Go ahead, bro.
He's making the point. Why don't you...
You answered that. I was just going to ask you what the solution was.
Oh, the solution. I just said the solution.
I was just waiting for
anybody else wants to speak.
Can I be fair? No.
Fight. That says a lot.
I'm going to go in a minute.
You guys sound similar.
You imply that if the British legal system operates, it won't punish them to the highest degree. It will if there's evidence for it. Don't worry.
Wait, James, I've got the conch.
Now we like the conch.
Right, no, I'm going to summarise now because I'm going to be
You don't
fair
need to
everyone.
talk into it. It's not a microphone.
I realise that. Thank you very much for helping me with that one. Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me into your conversation. I'm sorry. But
No,
you asked my view. You asked my view. You asked my view.
In a shared and
What I
balanced
do
fashion.
understand is, James, you've got your view, which I understand. I got your where
You
you're
don't
coming from.
understand it
I
at
get
all.
your
I
view,
keep
your
telling
middle
you,
view.
you
sort
don't
of makes
understand
sense.
it at all.
My point of view, which is why you asked me, like, so people ask
Emotional
your
knee-jerk.
view.
Look, this is you.
I know you don't
There you
like
go.
it, but I'm telling
Guys,
you where
what?
that's it.
This is not one-on-one. Come on.
That she is, from my point of view,
Are you
whether
gonna
you like my
repeat
point of view or
yourself
not, a high-risk individual to
And you
Britain.
assess that by looking
It
at the
is
television
better
screen.
as prevention rather than cure that
You
she's
assess
not
that by looking
in
at the
the
television
UK. What we do with her,
We don't
work it out,
assess
I don't
risk
know.
by looking at television
But just
screens
because she
as a
makes-
nation,
but just-
as a police
you know
force.
what,
We don't
bloody
do that.
just
Why should we do it for Muslims?
Right, but just to make say, oh, she made a mistake and everyone deserves a second chance. In principle, everyone does deserve a second chance. The problem is that there's some risks you take or mistakes you make in life that are so beyond the pale,
the
you
voice of
don't get that
experience
second
here.
chance through the own circumstances.
What
She's
about a third
danger
chance or a
to
fourth
Britain.
chance?
She may never do anything to this country, I get it. That's a chance we take. We will only ever know if the prevention worked if she doesn't do something. So we never know until afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'll just come in with my final comment.
This is working.
My little summary.
Very good.
I actually agree with both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that she is a security risk, even though there's nothing that's been charged. But you know, she's in a very hostile situation. You don't know what she's been exposed to. You don't know how her mentalities change over this time. You know, as a child, you grow and you build ideas. Okay, it's the most. Your mind's the most malleable at that time.
It's a sad situation.
So. But I also think that, you know, removing someone's citizenship is a very, very, very problematic issue. I think it's important that she has tried, and I think it's also important that we go back to the root from a moral issue to actually see why she has put herself in that position, okay? To avoid it. I don't think leaving, in my opinion personally, I disagree with you just on this point, that leaving her there is wrong. That doesn't make an example, okay? I think that the right thing to do would to actually bring her back, put her on trial, so people can understand why she did what she did, and then people can learn. And then that's it. That'd be my
I think that's it's not my view, but I think it's a very reasonable view.
Your view is hard line.
I'm still sticking hard line with this, but I do understand that view.
No chopping off heads, but hard line.
We will agree to disagree on that, but that's fair enough.
Hard line.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Thank you. Shake hands as we always do. James never shakes hands, so don't worry about that.
Don't you?
He never I like it.
Too formal. What is this, a business meeting?
No, it's just...
We just heard of blokes in the park having a
I'm not necessarily
chat.
done. I'm happy to continue.
Enjoyed it.
You can say, talk about something else.
And even you, James, thanks for your views.
What do you mean, even me?
Okay, guys.
Content over everything. From your belly. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen! COE! Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. I just listen to COE! Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. Man, just listen to COE! Man, just listen to COE! Man, just listen to COE! If you see me in COE! Content over everything. COE!
Man, not even know BBC. Man, not even know ITV. Not even listen to the MUM. They just listen to COE.